Look, nobody wants to crash on their bike, and while so much of safe motorcycle operation comes from proper riding technique, proper bike maintenance is also really essential. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and your luck is about to run out if you don't take this opportunity to go lube your damn chain. Let's get into the video. One of the most important parts of your motorcycle that are imperative for your safety are your motorcycle tires. Tires are the critical connection between the bike and the road. They provide the only contact point, known as the contact patch, which is responsible for traction and stability. The contact patch is literally the only thing holding you there from the pavement. You must know it and respect it. Be one with the patch. You know it's only the size of a credit card? That's the only thing holding you from disaster. The size and shape of the contact patch changes based on factors like tire pressure, load, and lean angle. Tires are designed with specific rubber compounds and tread patterns to maximize traction under various conditions, such as dry roads, wet surfaces, or off-road terrain if you go off-road a little bit. Do you go off-road, you sneaky little bastard? You take your SV gravel riding sometimes? Maybe. The grip provided by tires is essential for acceleration, braking, and cornering. The shape, width, and profile of the tire affects how the motorcycle leans into turns and how it feels when steering. Tires with a more rounded profile might offer smoother cornering, while those with a flatter profile might offer more stability in a straight line. And braking performance is directly impacted by the tire's ability to grip the road surface. Worn tires or tires with insufficient tread depth can reduce braking efficiency, especially in wet or slippery conditions. Tires also support the weight of the motorcycle and its rider. Underinflated tires can affect handling and may lead to overheating and premature wear. Additionally, tires transmit feedback to the rider, communicating the road surface condition, grip level, and potential hazards. Regular inspection of tires for wear, cuts, punctures, and proper inflation is vital for safe riding. Replacing tires when they are worn out is essential to maintain optimal performance and safety. Riders should choose tires based on their riding style, the type of bike they own, and the conditions in which they ride. To check for tread wear, use a tread depth gauge to measure the depth of the tire tread, ensuring it meets the legal minimum. Or you can also use a penny if you're in the US, or some other foreign coin if you live somewhere else. A sixpence or a loonie or something like that, I don't know. Look for signs of uneven wear, such as bald spots or wear on the one side of the tire. Additionally, check for wear indicators. If the tread is level with these indicators, the tire is worn out and needs replacement. Don't skimp on this, boys. Inspect the sidewall for cuts, cracks, and bulges or other sided damage. Any damage to the sidewall can weaken the tire structure and increase the risk of a blowout. To check tire pressure, use a tire pressure gauge when the tires are cold and refer to the motorcycle manufacturer's recommendation for correct pressure. It's important to note that the numbers on your motorcycle's swing arm or frame are typically way overinflated for what you actually need to be doing. For most street tires, you usually want about 32 to 34 psi in the front and 34 to 36 psi in the rear. Underinflated tires can lead to poor handling, overheating, and increased wear, while overinflated tires reduce traction and make the ride harsh. The dangers of riding on worn or improperly inflated tires are significant. They include reduced traction, longer braking distances, and increased risk of blowouts, especially in wet or slippery conditions. If you're curious what changing tires yourself looks like, I put a new set of rubber on our GSX 8R giveaway bike last month, so you can go and check out that video and see the process in detail. Motorcycle brakes play a critical role in ensuring rider safety by providing the necessary stopping power to avoid accidents and obstacles. Brakes are good. We can all agree. Motorcycles rely heavily on their front brakes for stopping, as much as 70 to 90% of the total stopping power. The front brake is especially crucial because when applied correctly, it helps stabilize the bike by shifting the weight forward, increasing the traction on the front tire. Worn brake components such as brake pads, rotors, brake lines can lead to catastrophic failures and compromise rider safety. Imagine you're going down the road and you go for the brakes and you don't stop. Yeah, not gonna be fun. Worn brake pads have less material to create friction, reducing their effectiveness in slowing down your wheels. This can result in longer stopping distances and increase the risk of rear-end collisions or running off the road. Worn brake pads or overheated brake fluid can lead to brake fade, where the brakes lose effectiveness over time. This can be particularly dangerous when riding aggressively or in heavy traffic. Worn brake lines or air in the brake system can cause a spongy feeling in the brake lever or pedal. This reduces the rider's ability to modulate braking force accurately, increasing the risk of locking up your wheels. Worn brake rotors are kind of rare, you don't need to worry about them that much, but they can develop grooves or hot spots, leading the ability to provide consistent braking performance to go down. This can lead to uneven braking and potentially cause a loss of control. Over time, brake fluid can absorb moisture, leading to corrosion of brake components and reduced braking performance. Contaminated brake fluid can also lead to brake fade and sponginess. To ensure rider safety, it's essential to regularly inspect and maintain the motorcycle's braking system. This includes checking brake pad thickness, inspecting rotors for wear, wear, and ensuring brake lines are in good condition. To inspect your brake pads, you gotta look through the inspection window of the caliper or remove it entirely to visually inspect the brake pads. Some pads have wear indicators or a small groove or metal tab that becomes visible when the pads are worn. Or you can measure the thickness of the brake pads using a caliper or a ruler. Replace the pads if they are at or below the manufacturer's recommended minimum thickness, often 1 to 3 millimeters. To inspect the brake fluid, locate your brake fluid reservoir. Your front brake reservoir usually beside your master cylinder or by your front brake lever, and your rear reservoir near the back of your bike, near your rear brake fluid, or near the lever caliper or somewhere else on your bike. You gotta look for it, I can't tell you everything. Check the fluid level against the markings on the reservoir. If the level is below the minimum mark, add the appropriate brake fluid specified in your motorcycle's manual. You should also inspect the color of the brake fluid. Fresh brake fluid is usually slightly clear or slightly yellow. If the fluid appears dark or murky, it may be contaminated and should be flushed and replaced. One important thing to note too is make sure that all of your braking components are torqued to spec. I've seen a lot of guys not torque down brake calipers, and the brake calipers actually slide off of the actual mounting point. I've also seen people not clip in the pads correctly. So yeah, if you're working on your brakes yourself, please make sure and double check everything is put correctly back in place. Visibility is crucial on a motorcycle, especially at night or in poor weather conditions, and to ensure the rider is seen by other road users and to anticipate potential hazards. In low light conditions, such as at night or during heavy rain or fog, visibility can be significantly reduced, making it challenging for other drivers to see motorcycles. And this increases the risk for accidents, as motorcycles are often less visible than larger vehicles. Proper lighting and high-vis adventure dad gear make it easier for other road users to spot bikes and reduce the risk of collisions. But keep in mind, crazy dad gear that's all reflective and brightly lit and all that stuff is no substitute for good riding. You should still ride like you're invisible. But to check all motorcycle lighting for functionality and proper alignment, start by turning on the ignition and activating the headlights, brake lights, and turn signals. Stand in front of the motorcycle to check the headlights. They should be bright and properly aligned, pointing straight ahead, not too high or too low. Then you check the brake lights by applying the front and rear brakes. Sometimes you can have your buddy tell you that the brake lights are out because you're stamping on the lever and nothing is happening. So yeah, regularly checking and maintaining motorcycle lighting is essential for rider safety and visibility on the road. Look, I know it's banana yellow to you, but Suzuki calls this color on the GSX 8R Pearl Ignite Yellow. It's actually very pretty in person, and you will get loads of looks while you're riding it, because guess what? I am giving this bike away to a lucky member in the audience. I've given away over 51 motorcycles valued at over $500,000 in the last 5 years. It's been the coolest part about running this channel, and we just keep doing cool bikes all the time. Head over to yamandoob.co and pick out a t-shirt, a hat, a hoodie, whatever you'd like, and every dollar you spend on the store will be an entry to win the bike, and who knows, we might even have a sweet multiplier going on right now. So head over to the store, check it out, and don't miss it. A neglected drivetrain and sprockets are going to lead to poor performance and perhaps dangerous situations when riding a bike. This is one way that bikes are really different than cars, is that the drive system is a wear item that goes way faster than you think, and it's also something you can modify and change too. But the chain and sprockets are crucial components of the motorcycle's drivetrain. It transfers power from the engine to the rear wheel. Lack of proper lubrication and maintenance can cause the chain to develop tight spots or kinks, increasing friction. This extra friction not only reduces performance, but also accelerates wear on both the chain and the sprockets. Worn sprockets can cause the chain to slip, leading to erratic acceleration and potentially dangerous situations, especially when overtaking or navigating corners. A poorly maintained chain can become loose or tight due to uneven wear. A loose chain can slap against the swing arm of the engine case, causing damage and noise. Conversely, a chain that's too tight can strain the engine and transmission components, leading to premature wear and reduced performance. If you ask me, a chain that's too loose is better than a chain that's too tight. I've never really seen too many issues from a chain that's too loose, but having a chain that's too tight causes a lot of problems. Exposure to the elements can cause the chain to rust and corrode, especially if you didn't lubricate it properly. A rusty chain is more prone to binding and can eventually snap under stress, such as under hard acceleration or sudden load changes. A neglected chain and sprockets can lead to sudden failure while riding, potentially causing the chain to just come off or break, or get snagged or caught up in the front sprocket. This can result in loss of power to the rear wheel, leading to a loss of control and possibly a crash, especially at high speeds. To avoid these issues, it's crucial to regularly inspect and maintain the drivetrain and sprockets. This includes cleaning and lubricating the chain, checking and adjusting the tension, and replacing any worn components. Regular maintenance not only ensures optimal performance, but also enhances the safety on the road. If you're installing a new chain on yourself, you definitely want to make sure you rivet the chain correctly. Over-riveting a chain will cause the chain to fail prematurely, and under-riveting it will also cause it to pop out the little pin that sits inside the chain, so definitely keep an eye on that too. Engine oil and other fluids are critical for maintaining motorcycle engine health and overall performance too. Engine oil lubricates the moving parts of the engine, reducing friction and heat, and it helps to carry away contaminants. But it also plays a vital role in cooling the engine. Similarly, other fluids such as coolant, brake fluid, and transmission fluid are essential for their respective systems to function properly. Neglecting these fluids can lead to increased wear and tear on engine components, reducing engine performance, and even getting engine failure. Regularly checking and changing fluids according to the manufacturer's recommendations is essential to ensure the longevity of the engine and optimal motorcycle performance. To check the oil level on a bike, you start by ensuring the bike is on a level surface and the engine's cool. Locate the oil dipstick or sight glass, which is usually located at the side of the engine or near the bottom. For a dipstick, you remove it, wipe it clean, reinsert it, and then remove it again to check the oil level. The oil level should be between the minimum and maximum marks on the dipstick or within the range indicated by the sight glass. Additionally, inspect the oil for signs of contamination such as metal particles or a milky appearance, which can indicate internal engine issues. Neglected oil changes can lead to engine damage and overheating. Old degraded oil loses its lubricating properties, causing increased friction and heat buildup in the engine. This can lead to premature wear of engine components and reduced engine performance, and even engine failure. Regularly changing the oil and inspecting for leaks is essential for maintaining engine health and preventing costly repairs. Proper bike steering and suspension are vital for good handling and rider comfort. The steering system, including the handlebars, forks, and front wheel, determines how the motorcycle responds to rider input. A well-maintained steering system ensures precise control, allowing the rider to navigate corners and obstacles with confidence. And additionally, you gotta have a properly functioning suspension system, which includes the front forks and rear shock absorbers, helps to absorb bumps and vibrations in the road, providing a smoother and more comfortable ride. Proper suspension settings also contribute to stability, especially during braking and cornering. Regularly inspecting and maintaining the steering and suspension components are essential to ensure optimal handling, comfort, and safety while you ride. So something you can do is move your handlebars from side to side, feeling any resistance or roughness in the movement, which should be smooth and without binding. Sometimes the nut that's torqued onto the headstock of the motorcycle is simply too tight and you just gotta back that off a little bit. We had that issue actually with our Chinese bike. It was torqued to like 150 foot-pounds and it didn't allow the handlebars to turn as well as they should. It should be nice and smooth. Additionally, if you have a really old bike, the bearings that are inside the headstock that allow the headstock of the bike to move around might be worn out and you might have to change them. You typically need a specialized tool to pop those bearings out, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. Newer bikes don't have that as bad. Obviously, of course, if you have suspension issues, your bike's not gonna be able to handle bumps and absorb things correctly. Having a front fork that's oscillating wildly going down the road because it can't actually handle the damping forces might not be a good thing for rider safety. You should feel for smooth movements without binding or resistance on your fork, and you should check for leaks around the fork seals, as oil residue or wetness indicates a leak that needs immediate attention. And for the rear suspension, you gotta examine the rear shock for oil leaks and check for smooth operation by compressing and releasing it. On newer bikes, you typically don't see these kind of issues, but if you're riding something that's more than 20 years old and lived outside for any point in time of its life, you should definitely check these things. Vibrations from riding can gradually loosen various nuts and bolts on a motorcycle, leading to parts potentially falling off or failing. The constant movement and engine vibrations can cause nuts and bolts to back out over time if they're not properly tightened or secured with Loctite. I'm a big fan of dabbing a little bit of Loctite on important critical bolts on my motorcycle, but this can be especially concerning for components such as engine mounts, suspension components, or brake calipers, as a loose or missing bolt in these areas can result in catastrophic failure or loss of control while riding. Regularly inspecting and tightening nuts and bolts, especially after long rides or on rough terrain, is essential to ensure the safety and integrity of the motorcycle. Performing a routine check of critical fasteners is essential to ensure the safety and reliability of your bike, especially in areas commonly affected by vibration. So you should focus on areas that are going to be prone to vibration, like engine mounts, exhaust systems, fairing mounts, and suspension components. So go and check each fastener for signs of looseness, corrosion, or damage. edge. You can also use your fingers to gently attempt to turn each one. If you feel any loose or anything like that, you should tighten them immediately using the appropriate wrench or socket to the torque spec in your manual, or the one provided by the kind older guy in the forums who knows the torque spec of every single bolt on his motorcycle just by looking at it. This is especially important if you have a brand new motorcycle and you're doing your first service yourself. One of the things they're gonna do at the motorcycle shop if you take it there is to actually look through the bolts and make sure things are torqued. One of the things that can happen on brand new bikes is new bolts just get out of sort over time, and you want to make sure that they're torqued to spec. And if there's one takeaway from today's video, it's don't postpone maintenance. Get a service manual, a basic set of tools, and a rear stand. You should have zero issue tackling most of these service items yourself. Bikes are not like cars. Stay on top of their maintenance, or otherwise they will probably kill you. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're thirsty for more motorcycle content, and I will catch you all later. Fact, the Atacama Desert is the driest place on Earth. Also a place I really want to go visit someday. Goodbye. Sadly for you, this episode of Yami Noob is over, but there's a great way you can keep the conversation going with me. It's by becoming a member over on yaminoob.co. You'll join our Discord server. I'm on there literally every day. You can ask me questions, hang out with me. It's a great way to support the show. But if you just want to keep watching some amazing squid content, well, hit the link right over here and check out this next video. I promise you it's good.